Howdy everyone. In this first video, we'll be covering our travel from Wisconsin down to New Mexico, our drive from the campground out to Crazy Cook Monument for the start of the CDT, and then my 4 days of hiking from Crazy Cook to Lordsburg. The intended audience is actually pretty broad-based for non-hikers and hikers as well. And this is not meant to be a detailed expert through hiker video. To qualify my level of experience, my wife and I checklist, have 2 decades of, 2 to 7 day backpacking experiences all over the country and some parts of the world. But this is our first big through hike of one of the long distance hiking trails. So in the videos, you can expect to see all the lessons that I get to learn along the way and how we coped and adapted, and hopefully cover some of the highlights of the trail as well. So the purpose of the videos is enjoyment. So with that, here goes. Our travel adventure began on April 5th, and we departed on our way from our home state of Wisconsin, traveling towards Lordsburg, New Mexico. 100 miles into the trip, we stopped to switch drivers and go to the bathroom, and checklist discovered a problem. As can be seen in this picture, our front left window on the camper was struck on the very edge, shattering the window. On our return journey back home, a few phone calls later, and we determined that this was a customized window made only for our style of camper, and a new window would be at least 5 weeks out. Therefore, it's time to cope and adapt. After a couple phone calls with a retired chief engineer from Caterpillar and a retired construction superintendent for Consolidated Papers, we came up with a workaround design, $40 of material, and 36 hours later, we were back on the road. Our trip to southern New Mexico took 4 nights and included stays at state parks in Missouri, and pictured here is a state park in Kansas. And then we did 2 nights in state parks in New Mexico. Pictured here is Santa Rosa Reservoir State Park. Our original plan was to reach our final destination, pictured here, called Smuggler's Cove in Animas, New Mexico, on April 12th. But watching the extended forecast, it showed a heat wave moving in unexpectedly, which if I started my hike on April 14th, I would be hiking in 90-degree desert heat. So we moved up the schedule, arrived on the 11th, and I started the hike on the 12th, 2 days early. Before moving on to the hike, Animas is a population of about 200, and the town has been around since before New Mexico was a state. What it's known for is there was a historical smuggling route of wagon trains that used to come through here to do trading in Arizona and California. And it was also home to the Clanton gang, known for the shootout at the OK Corral. The trip from our campground Smuggler's Cove to Crazy Cook was about 40 miles of blacktop road, followed by 20 miles of rough rock road. And we saw more Border Patrol vehicles and people than just about anyone else. The Border Patrol people that both Checklist and I spoke with were very friendly, very helpful, and they're doing a great job to keep the trail safe and keep the border area secure. About halfway between Animas and Crazy Cook is the town of Hachita, which is today a population of 80. In its heyday, it was a population of over 4,000, and it was a large rail terminal which serviced the intense copper and smelting industry that was in the area and has long since gone away. Now, you certainly got to love that rural sense of humor. The Rock Road portion was 30 miles and took 2.5 hours and was well washed out. We were able to make the journey in two-wheel drive, but a high clearance vehicle is definitely required. Howdy everybody. 2 years of planning and preparation, and we are at Crazy Cook Monument, getting ready to start the CDT through hike. So about 26 miles down the rocky road, and we've got a lot of people joining me for the hike, so get you down the road. Due to my training issues with inflamed tendons from arthritis in my ankle, we were unsure how far I would make it the first day. So I carried a full pack and 4 liters of water with the intent of tent camping, unless I was able to make it 25 to 27 miles to Highway 81. Okay. Trail Angel surprised me at 2.4 miles and stopped and gave me a big hug and kiss. So already winning. And I'm only 40 minutes into the day. So here's a look at 2.4 miles. I know it's really windy, so the audio will be crap. Just finished up lunch at about mile 9. Popped out of the wash that climbed up for about 1.5 miles. And try to flip the camera around. So that's looking to the north. And the trail runs, hooks left, then back around right. And it'll go down through that opening to the far right and drop down, and there'll be a water cache, so resupply with water at about mile 15. So it's starting to cloud up a little bit. Still windy, but sheltered down at this saddle that I'm in right now. Otherwise pretty pleasant. At mile about 12, heading down a wash. Nothing too exciting, partly cloudy, wind's picking up again. So doing okay. At this point, the winds are gusting 40 to 60 miles an hour, and I was 6 to 8 miles away from the highway where I could be picked up. So my choice was to either find a place somewhat out of the wind to tent camp for the night, or to go ahead and do the extra miles and have checklists pick me up. Getting picked up versus tent camping for the evening, I felt was the best choice. Following that video, the wind picked up even more, and I had to use my trekking poles to keep from getting knocked over. And I got hit by several dust devils and sandblasted. Even though I was able to make it to Highway 81 at about 6:40 p.m., where I was pleasantly picked up by checklist. When it's windy, there's an excessive amount of background noise in the video, audio. When this occurs, I'll let a little bit of the background or the noise occur, but then I'm just going to voice over because it's very irritating to listen to the wind. Okay, Okay, we're at the start of day 2. We're at Highway 81. So this is from the day 2 drop-off point. Crazy Cook is off in the distance, out of the range of this photo. And it was a about 14-mile hike through the mountains, and then a 12-mile road walk to this point. The 12-mile road walk bypassed an 11-mile section that had no real trail and was full of thorn bushes. This is looking to the northwest, and I'll be hiking approximately 20 miles along the base of that range that you see to the left-hand side of this view. At the end of day 2, I'll be picked up by Checklist, and then I'll be visiting with my parents who are snowbirding their way north. Okay, second day. Temperature is supposed to get up to 65. I don't think it's quite there yet. At mile 5 on the second day. And that's looking back from where I started at the base of that ridge on Highway 81. And the first 2.5 miles of the trail today was actual trail, with a lot of hopping from side to side because the trail kind of splits off and meanders, and you just make your way, and that's where I'm headed today. So about another 15 miles to go. We've got 10-mile-an-hour breeze, again 65 degrees, and all sunshine, so put suntan lotion on and enjoy the cool weather, because there's hot 90-degree weather coming in a few days. Okay, at mile 13 on the second day, and I was kind of planning on hiking over to that water tank, and I believe there's a solar well there, and just for the purposes of showing everybody some of the water options that are available out in the New Mexico desert. I talked to some hikers down further back, and they said it was a good source. We got here and found that the cows were thirsty too, and they needed a drink, and I've got plenty of water. I'm going to make it to Highway 9 and the water cache without issue, so I'm not going to bother the cows, and sit down and have lunch. So it's noon on the second day. Stop for lunch, trying out the feet and socks, and we'll do a foot check. So to compensate or try to manage the issue of the arthritis inflammation in the left ankle, I put lifts in both shoes, which I knew is definitely a risk, but to try to position the foot more at a down angle, and to try to get the tendons to stop rubbing or to rub less. And after 37 miles, actually more like 40 miles, that seems to be helping. I still feel some issues in the ankle, but in different locations, and no indication of swelling. At the same time, I hit mile 25 of 27 yesterday, and all of a sudden, never had it happen before. I've seen this in other videos, but started to feel funny things with my right big toe, and popped off and saw that it was starting to get black, and that's an indication that I'm jamming it into the shoe. The toenail was a little bit longer, but it wasn't terrible, so I did trim it last night. And then today I started to get hot spot right here, which you can see is blistered now, and there's a little bit of a blister back here in the heel. So I've done 1,000 miles on the shoes that I'm using, and had no blistering whatsoever, and really never had this issue either. So after getting to this point, or actually a few miles back, what I believe is going on, what's helping the left foot is actually hurting the right foot. So having this in my right shoe was causing my foot to jam forward and slide back, generating a hot spot here and here, and also causing the toes to jam in. So I pulled this out So I got a lift in the left shoe. I don't have a lift in the right shoe. I'm gonna clean this up and doctor it up tonight, and then we'll see how we progress further. So that's the status. Still pretty hopeful. Nothing too ugly. Didn't want to see the blisters, but sometimes you make some gains and a few setbacks, but we'll keep trying to manage the feet and the ankle. Okay, so that is the end of day 2, 20 miles, so 47 miles for a 2-day total. And as I was coming across that valley, I was thinking, well, maybe I could do a video and talk about all the problems that I have that make this a difficult challenge, like short legs, type 2 diabetes, arthritis. But then I realized I've got a checklist that makes all the difference. Howdy, we're at morning 3, so day 2 was a 20-mile slack pack up to this point right here on Highway 9, which runs between Animas and Hachita, and I'll be traveling further north in that direction. Today's going to be a Nero, which means about a half-day hike, so 12 miles, and that'll set me up for a nice 27 mile hike into Lordsburg the following morning. This morning's temperature is 32 degrees, so this is the coolest start of a hike that I've had so far, and probably the only one I'll have until we hit the mountains. Outside of that, it's supposed to be 84, so it's going to be warm today. Likely most of these clothes will be shed in the next 2 hours, and I'm looking forward to a nice half day. So just a little bit about the term slack pack. That can actually mean a couple of things. What I use it for and what I've heard it used for is that anytime you're doing a hike and you're not carrying a full tent and backpacking kit, you're doing what is commonly referred to as a slack pack. So in this situation, when I'm doing day hikes, which on this first part of the journey from Crazy Cook to Lordsburg, essentially I've slack packed every day and will be. That means that I'm carrying anywhere from 7 to 10 pounds less in my pack. And for the Nero today, I'm basically carrying my pack with my sleeping bag to fill the pack out, and then carrying my water, and that's all I have for today. So when you hear me say slack pack, that's what I'm referring to. So it was about 1.5 miles of trail, and then hopped onto this rock road. We'll see how far it goes. Maybe it might be a whole day of this. We'll see. At least it's straight. So a question that gets asked, and I've seen in some of the video blogs, is people asking or expressing their opinion of, well, what about the aesthetic or scenic quality of the New Mexico landscape from Crazy Cook to Lordsburg? And I'll tell you, largely, this is what it is. So I've seen a lot of complaints about it, or hey, it has its own beauty, that type of thing. So I to each their own when it comes to this sort of thing. So what do I see of it? I see of it as, this is southwestern U.S. desert hiking, and every day that I spent at work, or every day that I've sat at home, or every time I've sat in a restaurant or a bar or anything like that, I would have killed to come out and walk in this wonderful landscape. So yes, it's different. It's not Yosemite. It's not the Wind River Range, but I can't hear a single vehicle. It is completely quiet. And it is wonderful, and that's what it's all about. So I would say the scenic landscape is quite good, if not excellent. And here's a very popular cow watering hole. So you have a nice clear tire that's full and running continuous. And then I'm pretty sure if you come up here, there's a spigot, and I'll zoom in on that later, and you can also climb the ladder and dip out of the tank if you need to. So I know this is very popular with hikers, and a lot of people plan to camp here for the evening. There's a nice little gasket leak on the fiberglass tank. For those that used to work with me, you probably know the feeling. But creates a nice little sprinkle of water, and you could take a shower there if you wanted to. Okay, about mile 8.5 on day 3, and went through kind of a high saddle. Now I'm gonna go over down into the bottom, which you can see behind me. So that's looking west, south. That's looking east where it came from, and back to the start. Sunny day, warming up. Good day to have a half day. Okay, ending the hike on day 3, 12 miles. And checklist came out and hiked down the trail to meet me. And she's volunteered to demonstrate how to cross a fence. So there you have it. That's how you cross a fence. Okay, so end of day 3, which was a half day. I was calling it a narrow, but I had some experience through hikers telling me that means it's less than 4 miles. So a 12-mile day went really well. A little warmer today, and the water consumption went way up, but still not an issue. I was fortunate enough to meet 4 hikers on the way, and two are young ladies from Germany who've done the PCT, and now we're doing the CDT. And then at this water cache on Highway 113, we just talked to a young lady from California. So really enjoying getting to meet the people, and hopefully get to bump into them along the way and share our stories and experience. So at this point, pretty pumped, still positive. A lot of the let's get going adrenaline still flowing through me. So we'll go rest the feet and rest up for the afternoon and start again tomorrow. Okay. It's about 6 a.m. on the 4th day. Checklist dropped me off. It's Highway 113 where the trail crosses. There's really not a good parking area. So she kind of just dropped me off, and she's turning around and gonna head out. So today's gonna be 25 to 27 mile slack pack. There should be a good water point midway between. And temperature is currently 37 degrees with about a 10-mile-an-hour wind, which I'm sure is messing up the audio on this video. And it's supposed to get to 84 degrees. So starting out with all my rain gear on, and probably in another hour or 2 it'll be off, and it'll be a warm day. How am I feeling so far? I still have a fury of walking into a high school game or sport activity. That's the way I feel in the morning. Certainly at night I'm tired and not so sore, but I still got my game emotions on. So beautiful sunrise, away we go. All right, 6:30 on the 4th morning, and got my first real clear glimpse of the southern edge of the Gila National Forest. So today I will be doing that 25 to 27 into Lordsburg, and if things continue well, I'll actually be going into the southern edge of that tomorrow. So the flat walking is coming to an end in a day and a half. Pretty exciting. Here's what today's hike is kind of looking like. So if I compare it to yesterday, the trail's quite defined, quite flat, not full of loose rocks. Pretty good stuff. Yesterday was lots of loose rocks, lots of washes, lots of up and down, lots of beach sand. So wasn't that enjoyable. So I had my first minor trail mishap. So what happened was I walking through ranch land and continue from one sign to the next, and when you get to one sign, you're always looking for the next sign, and there is a worn path, so up till now it's been accurate, so you just keep on the path. Typically I'll walk a ways, and if I don't see the next sign, I'll pop out the far out app and see if I'm still on trail or not. And this time, and I probably got a quarter mile past the sign. This time I popped it up, and sure enough, no, the well-beaten hiker path was wrong. And then I looked a little further, and I could see that there was a bow in the trail about 2 miles long to the left, and that the path I was on appeared to be people that were kind of trying to cut that bow in the trail off. So I went, well, there's no more scenic beauty to the left than there is straight ahead. So I continued on that path for a while, only to find that it petered out, and there was a bunch of scratched arrows in the trail going, you need to go left. So not wanting to walk through brush endlessly with no set-in trail, I picked a point on the horizon. Pretty sure I'm aimed at a CDT sign. I'm certainly aimed at the trail, and I'm heading toward that point on the horizon to keep a straight, efficient path, and heading back to get back on trail. So no big loss, just without a doubt, if you don't see the sign, pop out that far out app and make sure you're still on trail, because the set-in path is not always correct. Not much of a breeze this morning. I think I prefer the breeze. Kind of crappy for videos, but a lot better to keep you cool like hiking. Still a beautiful day. A couple guys in front of me. I'm learning that if I'm hiking behind through hikers, experienced through hikers, I won't see them. They generally pull away, and if I'm hiking behind newbies like me, there's a pretty good chance I'm gonna catch up to them and have a conversation. So just a fun, interesting observation. Met a hiker going south. Trail name was Dark Web. He was a cool dude. Amen, brother. It's 3 o'clock on day 4, and I think I'm at about 22 miles for the day, and I'm not sure what trail mile, but down in the bottom of that valley, oh, I know my iPhone 13 can't pull it in, is Interstate 10. I can see the vehicles on it, and I can see Lordsburg. So just 3.7 miles more to go for the day, and I'll have completed Crazy Cooked at Lordsburg, and that is a magnificent feeling. Today was much warmer than the previous days. 84. occasionally a slight breeze, which was very welcome, and a little bit of clouds, which were also very welcome. My water consumption today was easily double what it had been the previous 3 days per mile. So I'll have consumed 7 liters on an approximately 26-mile day. So glad to have this one over with. Looks like the next 2 days are going to be the same. Wildlife highlights for this section were one snake photo shown in the photo, dozens of jackrabbits, a couple of cottontails, and a couple of coyotes, and that's really it. Embrace the brutality or difficulty. For the first section, the difficulty really was the 40 to 60 mile an hour winds on the first day. I later found out from a different thru hiker that a hiker I had passed at mile 13.6 while I was making this video had been blown off the trail and injured, and ended up getting a ride into Lordsburg to recover. A second difficulty, which really wasn't an issue for me, could be high temperatures and water. Water really isn't the issue in this section because the Continental Divide Trail Coalition maintains water caches at various junctions along the way. There's 5 of these in total, and I ended up getting water out of 2 of these. All in all, I did not have to filter water on the first section. Gear talk. So in a lot of the video blogs, gear is a popular subject, and most often people do an entire video on all the gear that they start with, and at the end, what gear they ended up with. I think I'm going to take a different approach, and I'm just going to talk about one piece of gear per video, and again qualify that this is my first through hike. So the gear that I'm going to talk about in this video is these little devices called the InReach or the InReach Mini. So we have 2 of these devices for this trip, and in the past we've had just an InReach Mini, and we've used it primarily for satellite communication with our friends and family to let us know that no, Checklist did not get eaten by that grizzly that we saw at 10 yards. On this trip, we studied it and actually purchased a second, which is an InReach Mini 2. The difference between the Mini and the Mini 2 is the Mini is the original version, and the Mini 2 is the newer version. And the Mini 2 has a much improved battery. I can't remember, lasts 4 or 5 times longer. And it also runs on the app Explorer versus the previous app of Earthmate. We find that both apps are very suitable, and I'm not finding a big difference between the 2. So what's this doing for us? While on the trail, when out of cell phone range, and at times both of us are out of cell phone range, so Checklist in the RV and me on the trail, we can actually satellite text from one unit to the other. Now when you do this, you can't have one Garmin account and do that. You have to have 2 unless it's a professional account. And we found that out the hard way, but when we called Garmin, they helped us and correct the issue without costing us any more money. And we have 2 accounts, and we can send a text from here to here without it requiring cell phone connectivity. With that, what kind of information do we communicate with each other? For the first leg from Crazy Cook to Lordsburg, the communications have been, hey, I'm at mile 7 and doing well, feet are doing this way, and the anticipated arrival at the pickup point is, at this point, is this. So probably send 2 to 3 of those during a day hike. Some of the other communications that we send back and forth are things like, hey, can you grab 2 liters of water for marmot to drop as a cache at the next pickup point? and the water situation is pretty tough. Well, let's plan on dropping 3 gallons of water for the other hikers. So there are other devices on the market that can do these things. We don't have experience with them, but just commenting that there are options. This is pretty pricey tech in terms of things that you do with this type of activity, and the subscription cost, or they require subscription just like a cell phone to be able to text back and forth, and that is expensive as well. We evaluated the expense and the benefit it provides, and decided yes, that this is what we were going to be using for this trip. A second and third advantage. So a second advantage of these is they do have the SOS button, which you can press if you're in an emergency situation, and that will contact the local rescue crew community, and they will respond. When you set up a subscription, it does provide you with, it currently I think is a $30 per year opportunity to buy insurance to cover the cost of the rescue crew. If you do need a rescue, sometimes there's no charge for that. In other cases, it could be up to a $50,000 charge. So you have to research and decide what you want to do with that on your own. A final benefit of the Garmin InReach is that they do come with their own digital map system that you can run off your cell phone. This digital map system isn't the best for hiking like the CDT, though the trail is on there. But if you compare it to Far Out, which is what I use and what most people use, the Far Out app is very well detailed and fine-tuned to hiking the trail. It doesn't show a great deal of information off the trail, but what it's great about is it shows you where the junctions are, where the gates are, where the water sources are, and hikers are allowed to comment, is the water source good right now? Is it the quality good? This is something that the Garmin mapping system doesn't have. But what the Garmin mapping system does have is has all the other trails and where they go, and where all the national forest roads and some of the ATV trails tie in. So in terms of, if I get into a situation where I need to bail out, the Garmin mapping system, in my opinion, is much more helpful for that. Now, in terms of trying to coordinate checklists picking me up, if I am in need to change the pickup point, and hey, I need you to pick me up at such and such a road or such and such trail, initially we're finding that the Garmin mapping system is much more effective for what she needs to do on how to get from point A to point B. So that's a little bit about the InReach Minis, Mini 1 or Mini and Mini 2, and some of the advantages and why we're currently using it. So I hope that you found that interesting and enjoy. In summary, it was 84 miles of desert hiking over a period of about 3.5 days. Physically feeling a little bit sore in the evening, but feeling very good in the morning. And working on the issues that resulted from the first day with the lift in the right shoe of 2 hot spots and the problem with the large toenail. All 3 of which are not causing any significant pain during walking. In terms of arthritis, inflammation in the left ankle, no noticeable concerns until the 4th day when the terrain got a little more hilly up and down, and I could feel some tenderness developing, but nothing that would cause me to stop hiking. In terms of mental and emotional, every day is spent executing the game plan. Every morning, the fire's burning, and I'm ready to get up and go. In fact, I can wear out checklists with too much detail from the day before. On the flip side, at night, I'm a little tired, and she's excited to tell me about her day and her experiences. So everything going very well, and we're still extremely upbeat. At this point, we ask everyone to remember to
keep stepping on.